welcome to all the professionals from the media, be it the print media or the defense journals or television. Welcome to this media briefing, which you all know is the annual event associated with Indian Air Force's anniversary celebrations, which falls on 8th of October every year. This year as well, we are having the customary functions and events. Already we have had a lot of receptions, etc. for our veterans in recognition of the contribution that they have made to make the Air Force whatever it is of today. As also, we are going to have a parade on the 8th and a fly past. There will be a static display as well. I request that the media personnel, media professionals would join us in celebrating the 83rd anniversary of the Air Force Day. Before we go on to the question and answer session, I would like to update you on the Indian Air Force as of today. What have been our thrust areas, the key result areas, the focus areas, as well as our status and how we are trying to build up our capability so as to take on the, I would say, threats and contingencies that may arise tomorrow and thereafter in the future. As you all know, this year we have commemorated the 50th year of 1965 conflict. A lot of events have been organized, and now almost everything is over in terms of the events related to the commemoration of 1965 war. We had actually made a calendar which we published right in the beginning of the year. I hope our media friends had got hold of these copies. If we haven't, we'll make sure that in the future, every year, the beginning of January, we would use the Air Force calendars at the present. We have had functions wherein the commemoration of the events was made by releasing postage stamps, coins. We had a series of seminars, not only in Delhi, but also all over the Air Force and the Armed Forces. We also had a very fine exhibition which was attended by a very large number of people from Delhi, including the President, Vice President, Prime Minister, Raksha Mantri and many other ministers and prominent politicians and authorities in India. And it was an overwhelming, I would say, response from our Indian population to come and see those stalls that are set up toward this exhibition. So we achieved the purpose of recognizing the contributions and heroic deeds of our armed forces, as also the supreme sacrifice many of the martyrs had made during that conflict. Coming to the Air Force per se, I'd like to say that the Indian Air Force is doing well in terms of meeting its tasks, both in terms of operational tasks and other peacetime tasks. There are a few key result areas or focus areas for the Air Force. There are about 5-6 of them. I'll start with the first one. The first focus area for the Indian Air Force is induction of new weapon platforms, weapon systems, and other equipment and other systems. You all know that any Air Force has the problem of obsolescence because Air Force is the most high-tech service or the arm of the armed forces, and as a result, the redundancy in this, is very high. We tend to, within about 10 to 15 years' time, we find that the technologies that we're using are no more valid, and we have to actually upgrade them and later on replace them so that the operational relevance is maintained. So induction is very important, timely induction. We have had successes in terms of induction that was planned through the long-term integrated perspective plan of the armed forces and IFOs. We have had some setbacks, but many successes as well. We operationalized the C-17 heavy lift strategic airlift aircraft, which can carry about 75 tons. And its effect was seen during various humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations in the recent past. I think it has really given us a strategic footprint and a reach for India and of course the Indian Air Force. C-130 Hercules Special Operations Aircraft, the first squadron has already been operationalized. The second squadron, we should be able to induct them by end of 2016 and beginning of 2017. In fact, everything is working out on time, on schedule. In fact, some of the activities are ahead of schedule. So we are very happy that another squadron of C-130 Special Ops aircraft will get operationalized in a year's time or so. We have inducted a very large number of medium lift helicopters, more than 100, and many more in the pipeline. It has given us tremendous capacity and capability in terms of mobilization, helping the army and the paramilitary forces, central government agencies and state governments in terms of air maintenance, lifting heavy loads, and many other areas. We are constantly supporting the paramilitary forces logistically for the operations in anti-Naxal operations, I would say, as well as carrying heavy equipment all over the places. These helicopters have been extremely good at HADR operations, which you got to see in the recent past, be it Nepal, be it in Jammu Kashmir or Uttarakhand. We also held the Election Commission for conduct of election in terms of carrying their paramilitary forces, the election officials, and other equipment in terms of EVMs, electronic voting machines. We have been, these aircraft have been used for dousing forest fires in 2-3 places across the country. So these helicopters have actually given us tremendous capacity and capability, not only in terms of mobilization of armed forces, especially inter-valley transfers, but also helping the civil administration in HADR and other areas. We've inducted a large number of radars. Many of them are indigenous, and now most of them will be indigenous in the future. They're doing quite well. The modern radars, they have been integrated into the IACCS, Integrated Air Command and Control System, and this has been a tremendous improvement in our air defense capability. And in the future, we'll be inducting many more radars. Similarly, indigenous SAGW, surface to air guided weapon systems, are being inducted, and like the Akash system, we've already operationalized 2 of them, and 6 more will be operationalized by end of this year, that's December 15. We have ordered another 16 of the Akash missile systems to fill up the gaps and the voids that we have, and we have also we are actually working with the DRDO and Bell so that we can improve the performance of these missiles and have Akash Mark II in large numbers. It is totally indigenous. So inductions wise, I think we are reasonably well off. We have had some issues with the Tejas induction. We are hoping that we will have at least 4 to 6 aircraft by end of next year. So the first squadron of Tejas indigenous aircraft would be operationalized by the Indian Air Force. We are looking forward to ramping up of the production by HAL of the Tejas so that we can exploit the indigenous capability. That is the current policy, that maximum indigenous equipment is to be operationalized by the armed forces, especially the Air Force. And we are also looking forward to the advanced medium combat aircraft to be indigenously produced in India, maybe with some help from some other agencies as providing consultancy. In terms of other systems, say the communication systems, our AFNet is fully operationalized, and we know that it is going to give us the ground network on which it is a OFC network which is going to provide us the backbone to our ISCCS and other capabilities in terms of communication. And of course, we are also operationalizing the ODL very soon. We will be operationalizing the SBS, the satellite-based systems for enhancing our capability in cyber as well as in space domains. So that is about the inductions. Coming to the Rafale, you all know that the initial proposal of the MMRCA could not go through because of various issues that cropped up in terms of compliance of the RFP. Since there is no headway being made in terms of compliance of the RFP in this contract, so the government, I think, decided based on the critical requirement of the Air Force to buy government-to-government agreement 36 Rafales. The process is already on. Negotiations have progressed very well, and I think the contract should be there very soon. That is about induction, which is extremely important. Second is infrastructure, key result area or the focus area. We may have the equipment and the systems, but we need to have the infrastructure on ground in terms of hangarage, maneuvering areas, weapon storage areas, laboratories, and things like that. So these are coming up in a big way. The government has been sanctioning a lot of monies towards work services to create infrastructure. But we are getting involved very deeply into it so that there are no time overruns, there are no cost overruns, and the quality is ensured. So once we have the infrastructure going, I think we will have greater capability in operationalizing all the inductions that you're making rapidly, I would say. In terms of infrastructure in the north and the northeast, there are some voids which are being made up very quickly. You know that about 6 to 7 advanced landing grounds, ALGs in the northeast, are being upgraded, not only to facilitate the armed forces capability in terms of augmentation, supply of logistics, and supporting the army, but is going to help in economic development of the state, the region, with greater impetus to tourism, as well as integrating the far remote areas of the northeast with the rest of India. So that is about infrastructure creation. Next point, which is extremely important for us, is our human resource development, because human resources are the most important asset in any organization, especially for the armed forces, the fighting force. We may have the equipment, we may have the infrastructure, but unless we have trained manpower who are very well motivated, I don't think we can actually get the maximum out of it. So the man behind the machine, which is important. Toward this, we are trying to make sure that all the new technologies, state-of-the-art technology that is coming in, get imbibed by our air warriors at every level, and they are more efficient professionally, and they are able to exploit all these systems to the best of our abilities. So toward this, not only we are fine-tuning our training curriculum and the content of these, we are also trying to make sure that the other training aspects get an impetus, like ab initio pilot training, which got derailed a few years back because of problems with the HPD-32. With the induction of the PC-7, almost 75 of them, and of course we are getting 38 more. The contracting process is on, and as we get the HTT-40 indigenously built by HAL for the BTA role, the basic trainer aircraft role, I think we will be well on our way in making up the deficiencies in our pilot training. The AJT, that is the Hawk trainer aircraft, is doing well, and we are getting a few more, and I'm sure the training of ab initio pilots will meet our requirements in the future, though we have had a setback in terms of not having the IJT, intermediate jet trainer, which is supposed to be indigenously built and which is supposed to replace the Kiran HJT-16 intermediate jet trainer, which is going to be retired in about 2 to 3 years time. So since the replacement is not coming, we are already working on a 3 stages, 2 aircraft training systems in our training command for ab initio pilot training. The scheme has already been put to place, and I think it is going to succeed. The PC-7 is a reasonably good aircraft with a reasonable flight envelope to substitute the training that was planned on the IJT. So we are trying to make up for non-availability IJT in this fashion, and this is a well accepted norm all over the world. Many of the professional air forces follow 2 aircraft, 3 stages flight training. In terms of network centricity, I think we all know that network-centric warfare capability is perhaps the most important KRA for all modern armed forces of the world. Toward this, as I had mentioned earlier, our ground network is in place. We are, our ODL, that is Operational Data Link, would be soon cleared, and we should be operationalized in about 2 to 3 years' time. But the SBS, the space-based program, is already on, and obviously all the 3 elements of network-centric operations would be in place very soon. As of now, the IACCS, Integrated Air Command Control System, is fully functional along the Western Theatre. The government has already approved the creation of few more IACCS nodes in the eastern, central, and peninsular regions, as well as the island territories of the country. And in 3 years' time, we should be able to operationalize the balance of the IACCS nodes, and Indian armed forces, especially the Air Force, will be truly network-centric warfare capable. So that is one of our main key result areas or focus areas. It's also important that we retain our professional people, and we have to maintain the morale of our people high. So toward this, we have made the quality of life and standard of living a key result area in the Air Force. A lot of assets are coming up. Many have come up in the past, and many are being created to improve the accommodation, to improve the education facilities in various spaces, improve the shopping complexes, sports facilities, entertainment facilities, and overall life of our air warriors and their families. So toward this, we have made a substantial progress. If you happen to go to any of the air bases, you realize that a lot of infrastructure is coming up in these matters, and I think people are reasonably happy of the efforts that is being made by the government and the IAF to give them a better quality of life and higher standard of living. We also lay a lot of emphasis as a KRA to do exercises with our friendly professional air forces the world over. And we have exercised with the US. Next year we are planning to go for red flag in Alaska. We have exercised with the Royal Air Force. Then we exercised with Singapore Air Force, the French, and a host of other nations. We always look forward to such bilateral and multilateral exercises, because it not only gives them the opportunity to showcase our capabilities, but also learn from each other's best practices. It gives us a lot of confidence, and people develop a perception of the abilities and capabilities of the Indian Air Force, which is extremely important to my mind. And we learn a lot from these professional air forces, and it develops camaraderie as well as compatibility and interoperability. So I think it's a very good idea to continue to exercise bilaterally or multilaterally with professional air forces the world over. This last year, we had an exercise with the Russian Air Force as well for the first time. We had gone across and flew with them, and then their Air Force people came across and flew with us in India. So for the first time, we have had bilateral exercise with the Russians. That is, I think, another step forward in this direction. So that is all from my side. There are other issues which I would mention, but I think most of the issues I've covered in general. Your questions, if we have any clarifications on what I have said, plus if we have some new areas which you would like to cover, I'll definitely try and answer them. I request that only one question per person, And there are so many of you here that I'd like to give the maximum opportunity to the people to ask questions, but not more than one at a time. There, you all know that we are currently short in terms of the authorized strength or authorized number of squadrons and what is available operational with us. And you also need to replace many more squadrons in the coming years. So the need is there. As the Air Chief or the Air Force, we would like to have more of these, but it has to be viable in terms of cost, in terms of transfer of technology, and the Make in India policy that the government is trying to implement. So if those terms and conditions are good, I'm sure that we may be able to get more. We are hopeful, but as of now, we are looking at only 36.
Any number you're looking at, sir?
No, I'll not be able to give you any number, but definitely we'd like to have, the MMRCA variety of aircraft, at least about 6 squadrons to my mind. But let's see, there may be some other alternatives as well.
Kavita Joshi.
Sir, good afternoon. मैं कविता जोशी हूँ अभिमन्यु न्यूज़पेपर से.
How do you raise the volume, please?
Please speak louder.
या सर मैं कविता जोशी हूँ अभिमन्यु न्यूज़पेपर से. मेरा सवाल आपसे वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर के दो इम्पोर्टेंट स्ट्रेटेजिक ठिकानों को लेकर है. एक तो करगिल एयरफील्ड और दूसरा नियोमा एयरफील्ड है. आपने लास्ट ईयर में मैंने ये सवाल आपसे किया था अपग्रेडेशन को लेकर के. तो आपने ये कहा था कि करगिल जो एयरफील्ड है उस पर अभी काम शुरू नहीं हुआ है. तो मैं ये जानना चाहती हूँ कि आज क्या स्थिति है, क्या काम शुरू हो चुका है और नियोमा एयरजी जो है उसे हम कब तक पूरी तरह से ऑपरेशनलाइज कर देंगे. सर इसका एक भाग और है कि अभी कुछ दिन पहले रक्षा मामलों की जो संसदीय समिति है, स्थायी समिति, उसने ये कहा था कि जो फार्मोस्ट एरिया है बॉर्डर के, वहाँ पर जो अपग्रेडेशन का काम चल रहा है एयरफोर्स का, उसकी काफ़ी धीमी रफ्तार है. तो उसको लेकर के रक्षा मंत्रालय की काफ़ी आलोचना भी कड़ी उन्होंने निंदा की है और काम में तेज़ी लाने को कहा है. तो आपने क्या टाइमलाइन को मतलब आगे बढ़ाया है या उस तरह से चेंज किया या पुरानी टाइमलाइन पर आप काम को पूरा करेंगे?
Thank you. So, Neoma and Kargil, both the airfields are important. Not only for capability enhancement of the Air Force, in support of the Army or otherwise, it also is going to help us in increase tourist traffic and economic development. In fact, the state government is extremely keen that we develop Kargil rapidly. So a lot of requests are coming from the state government and local authorities toward this to the government. So I think most of the issues have been resolved. Kargil, we want to extend the runway so that not only can it be used by larger bodied aircraft of the Air Force or combat aircraft, but also larger bodied aircraft for the civil aviation sector. Neoma, it has reached the advanced stage, and I think contracting will take some time because it's a very remote area. Mobilization of equipment and the material that is required, machinery that is required for starting work towards building a runway and other infrastructure is huge. The altitude of this place is close to 13,000 plus feet from the sea level, and of course the working season is very limited. So even if we can start the work this year, it will take several working seasons, to my mind, anywhere between 3 and 5 to complete the work. But these two airfields are important, and there is congruence in our thinking, be it the Army, be it the Ministry of Defense, state governments, and the Air Force. And I think that a lot of focus is there, and it will get the due importance that it deserves, as you mentioned. In terms of the other areas, development of the ALGs into full-fledged fixed wing operations, as mentioned to you, the status is quite good. Initially there is a lot of reluctance from the local population, but once they realize that it is for their good, good for the region and for the people, a lot of investments will take place, a lot of economic activities will be there. So the work has started in full swing, and in one of the ALGs the work is already complete, and the other 5 or 6 is progressing reasonably well. I think almost all of them have reached more than 50% of the work to be completed. I am very sure by end of next year, all these ALGs, the work will be completed.
Mr. Baran also. Can I have mic, please? First one.
Good afternoon, sir. Can I ask you the broad features of the IF's long-term plan, long-term vision and induction plan for the next 15 years? And sir, one more smaller question. Are you satisfied with the progress of DRDO and ADA managed programs such as LCA, LCA Mark II, AMCA and ROUCA? Thank you.
So two questions. First of all, long-term integrated plan is already there. Everybody is aware of the Air Force's plans. It is known to the industry, be the CIR, CII or FICI and everyone in terms of request for interest. So all the projects that is there on the platter is known to everyone. We are looking forward to building up our combat fleet, fighter aircraft, to 42 squadrons by the end of the 14th plan by 2027. And I think it's possible, it's viable. There are a lot of options available with us and discussions are already on. The Honorable Raksha Mantri, the PMO, everybody is very keen to find a quick solution to build up our force levels, especially the ones which have already retired and the ones which are going to retire in the next 10-12 years. So there is a long-term plan and a number of thrust lines have been determined. I would not like to give out those, but definitely the thrust is on indigenization or indigenous capability like the Tejas aircraft and of course maybe set up another line for replacement of the aircraft that will be retiring in the next 10 years because Tejas alone may not be able to meet all the requirements of the Indian Air Force in terms of numbers and in terms of the roles that the Air Force has to play. So that is other this thing, and of course you must have MMRC equivalent aircraft as was brought out earlier. Maybe 2 squadrons are not enough. Maybe the FGFA equivalent should come in the quickest possible time. If the FGFA comes through, is fine. Otherwise, the Indian FGFA, that is the AMCA, Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, we still have about 15 years to work on it before the MiG-29s upgraded ones retire, before the Mirages upgraded ones retire, as well as Jaguars upgraded ones retire in another 15 years hence. So AMCA is the Indian FGFA, and I'm very sure if we put our heart and soul together, and if the Air Force, the DRDO, the ADA, and HAL or any other agency which is involved, take joint responsibility, joint accountability and joint ownership, this is highly possible. I think we have already reached the launch pad as far as indigenous capability is concerned. We just need to build on it and more focus is required, and I think the government and the nation and the DRDO as well as the HAL is working towards it. So as far as the second question is concerned, you mentioned that what is my opinion about the DRDO and ADA. No, I would not like to express any opinion, but definitely what was envisaged by our people who fought for independence and took charge of the country immediately after 1947 August, I think they had a very good vision. They had set up DPSUs, DRDO to actually create new technologies or latest technologies that is required, or critical technologies that is required for defense, indigenization and self-reliance. And the DPSUs is supposed to productionize all those technologies for use by the armed forces as weapon platforms or other systems. I think they have not been able to meet the full mandate. There is a long way to go, and we are ready to work together. Not that we are not working together, but I think we require a greater focus in taking joint responsibility, joint accountability and ownership to make these projects more successful.
Thank you.
Right, sir. Gentlemen.
For the present technological and technical aspects of the product, that's the part one, and of course the cost visibility. So these are the issues we are looking at, and it's been taken up at the highest level, and of course a time frame. So once these are settled at the highest level, I think the project should fructify.
Sir, behind you, Rahul sir, behind you.
So this is Vijay Naik from Sakal Papers of Maharashtra. I just want to ask you questions. What do you think about the compatibility of Indian Air Force with Chinese Air Force? And is there any possibility of having joint exercises with Chinese Air Force? Because we had exercises, naval exercises with Chinese earlier also. And secondly, what do you think about the opening of defense sector to private industries, and how does it help the Air Force?
And what is the last portion of the question?
The opening of defense sector to the private.
Private. Thank you. 3 questions. Right. We don't want to compare with any country in terms of our capability and in terms of our operational strategy or the concept itself. But definitely, I can tell you that Indian Air Force has got very large number of aircraft which are extremely capable. We have force enhancers which will actually be very effective in terms of delivery of our capabilities whenever it is required. So we are quite well off in terms of anybody you want to compare with. Our capability enhancement is always being planned, taking into consideration various threat scenarios, not only during a conflict, but also our requirement to provide assistance to the government in HADR operations and building up the perception of the international community about the leadership that India wants to have, not only as an economic power or a democratic power, but also as a military power. So comprehensive national power, I think the armed forces, the military power is a very vital component, and I can assure you that we have tremendous capability. We are just looking forward to replacement of the legacy equipment, which is a natural thing for any air force the world over. So the second part of the question is you wanted to know that how the opening up the private sector for defense production is going to help, or what is the status, correct? Right. I think it's very important. We have learnt our lessons in the last 60 years that whatever was envisaged from DRDO, DPSUs or the PSUs in terms of creation of core technologies and then getting indigenous military capability, because nobody is going to give us core technologies. Even the best of friends will not give it to you in terms of military matters, so we have to create our own. Since we need competition, we need to involve our private sector who are doing reasonably well in every sphere, but so far the defense sector was a kind of a taboo. But now, by opening it up, I think the competition will increase and delivery will be much better in terms of timelines, in terms of quality, and in terms of the type of technology that we require. So I think it's a very good step. They are as I would say patriotic as the rest of the sectors, be it public sector or others. I think private sector players are equally important for this. I think in many areas they have given us tremendous capability for which the country can be proud of.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly request you to restrict to one question only. Okay, Colonel Ajay Shukla, sir.
Good morning, Chief. My question relates to what you said was one of your focus areas, indigenization. There are reports coming out of the MOD that the Air Force has given a thrust to the LCA program with a larger order, over and above the 40 aircraft already ordered, that there is work going on placing a larger order for up to 100 aircraft. Is this true, and what is the reasoning behind this? And second, also relating to indigenization is you had mentioned that you were looking for training with a 2 aircraft 3-stage training. What does the HTT 40 figure in this, or do you have the first 2 stages of training being done with PC-7 and the third with the orb, or is there another sort of vision that I'm missing? Thank you, sir.
Once again, two questions. Okay. You see, we had the plan right from the beginning to give an impetus to the LCA, the Tejas program. And we've been involved right from the beginning, and we have a very big team there working with ADA and the HAL. So we had placed an order for 1 squadron of IOC version, 1 squadron of FOC version, and Mark II, 6 more squadrons. So almost total of 8 squadron. 8 squadron, right? So no, 6 squadron. 6 means 6 into 20, 120 aircraft. So this order was there right from the beginning. So now it's not that we have reduced the number or increased the number, but we are ready to take more. 126 squadrons of Tejas is still there. We are ready to take it as soon as they can provide it. That means you have to ramp up the production rate, which is running behind schedule because the timelines have been missed quite a bit. So there is a need to ramp up, and we'll take all 120.
Sir, these 120 will be Tejas Mark II, or are you referring to a previous one?
As I said, the negotiations are still on, discussions are on. We want Tejas, just Tejas, no Mark 1, Mark 2, just the aircraft which they are prepared now. That will take with little improvements which they themselves have recommended in terms of the radar, in terms of EW, in terms of flight refueling, and in terms of better missiles. So these 4 things, it is doable, and they've agreed to do that. So as I said, we'll induct the Tejas in its present shape in large numbers, and we'll upgrade them as and when these technologies fructify, which is, I think, is the right step to do. And anything has to be progressive. Second thing you mentioned about the training. See, 3-stage, 2-aircraft training has been in vogue in many of the countries. PC-7 is going to take on not only stage 1 for fighter flying and other streams, the transport and helicopter. Then the trifraction will take place after the stage 1. Stage 2 on fighter will also be done, and is being done as of today on the PC-7. And stage 3 will be done on the AJT, that is the Hawk. As soon as we get the HTT-40 over and above 75 plus 38 of the PC-7s, this aircraft will also be used in doing the stage 2 if we find that it meets our requirement. If it doesn't, then it will be used only in stage 1.
Mr. Ajivalaji, one question please, sir.
Morning, sir. Sir, only one question. So you talked about satellite-based systems. Could you please elaborate on that? And in the clarification on what Shukla sir asked, are you referring to the improvements as Tejas Mark 1A, as the DRDO is calling them, Tejas Mark 1A, is it that?
No, I think, you please leave it to us. Mark 1, Mark 2, 1A, a lot of things have been discussed, but the latest, I think, input that we have worked out in terms of with the stakeholders, that we will have Tejas. We will not call it Mark 1A, B, C, or 2. We will have Tejas in the current capability that we have, and they have given us a plan. The ADA and the HAL has given us a plan to incorporate 4 major characteristics. So that, as I said earlier, that this will be integrated into the new aircraft as an upgrade, the aircraft which is currently existing. So it is not Mark 2 or Mark 3, it will just Tejas upgrade.
So the 6 models can be on the Tejas Mark 1A, if I may call it.
Whatever you call it, it will be Tejas with same capacity and capability with the improvements which will form upgrade.
So you're not insisting on a Mark 2, is it?
As of now, we are not. Okay, fine. What was the other question you asked?
The satellite-based system, sir.
Okay, satellite-based system, satellite-based system is required for communications, for imagery, for targeting information, and navigation. You can use it for other offensive roles as well, but as of now, we are thinking of having enough number of satellites which could be orbiting in the air, in the space, to give us these 3 things. That is, we are going to create the Indian Regional Navigation Satellite System, IRNSS, of which I think 4 satellites have already been launched. It will have a constellation of 7 satellites, so we'll be quite comfortable with that. We'll have our own GPS equivalent system for navigation. Imagery also they're going to provide us, and of course targeting information will be culled out from these capabilities. In terms of launching satellites, microsatellites and other things is being planned. So SBS program phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 all are running concurrently, and I'm sure in the due course of time we'll have the SBS system giving us space-based capabilities in full measure.
So will they have offensive capabilities, sir?
No, that I'm not able to tell you right now.
Next one, Neelam Matthews, ma'am. One question, please.
With the depleting fighter force, the status and priority that you have for the in-flight refuelers. And related to that, if you'd like to answer, are you looking at this Western equipment? Would you be looking at private maintenance and repair for heavier checks?
Having a flight refueling aircraft is extremely important, and it is a force enhancers which will play a very important role in increasing our footprint, the strategic reach, because normally fighter aircraft does not have so much of internal or external fuel carrying capacity that it can go beyond about 400 to 500 kilometers and come back to a safe base. So in case you want to increase your reach or radius of action, you require the flight refueling aircraft. We have purchased 6 of them, the IF-78. We require more because the commitments are more, and as a result, this MRTT project has come up, and it has come up through the normal bidding process, acquisition process. Of course, the ILs are in competition with the MRTT, but as of now, the process is on for the acquisition. There are a lot of observations in this project, so we are trying to clarify all those, and we hope that